Hello my loves and welcome to another video. Now today we're going to be talking about suicidal empathy and basically how having too much empathy can be extremely dangerous to those who identify as empaths. So there is quite a big phenomenon and issue that I have noticed as an empath myself and as someone who has worked with many clients over the years, that one of the biggest indicators, one of the biggest catalysts of empaths going through extreme abuse, getting trapped with narcissistic people, getting trapped with energy vampires is when they have too much empathy. So this is kind of like the opposite of what a typical narcissist or energy vampiric person or psychopath or sociopath or Machiavellian person will basically have. So where these dark or quadruple triad personality types are lacking, the empath overflows with it. So this is why these two people are somewhat drawn to each other, because with most empaths, they usually do have an innate ability of being some sort of spiritual healer or being called to do some sort of healing work, or just having extreme compassion and empathy and an overflow of love when it comes to dealing with certain people. And this can obviously be with animals, the environment and so forth. But we're going to be looking more today at people who are like more called to do deeper spiritual work, such as priestesses, and someone who basically is supposed to be a source of wisdom, of guidance, of healing energy, and why it is imperative that you do not allow your empathy to overtake your discernment and your boundaries and your path entirely, because this is one of the biggest things that massively blocks your gifts and your destiny, essentially. Because when you give access to the wrong people, they can massively infiltrate your life and kind of pull you away from your destiny, so to speak, or deter you. So sometimes this can actually be a dark initiation within itself. So it kind of does have obviously a silver lining. But at times people get too lost, too stagnant, and don't always make it out to the light. They don't always make it out of the other side. So this is kind of like a warning, but also guidance of learning how to truly navigate your own sort of darker underworld initiation of controlling your empathy and truly activating your intuition and discernment, and no longer allowing any sort of wounds to override it. Because most empaths will usually have a wound of martyrism. They'll have a wound of self-sacrifice. They'll have a wound of self-neglect. So they're always basically putting other people's needs above their own. Or at times they can have extreme abandonment wounds. So they have a lot of inner shame or inner guilt when they are feeling like they have to walk away from someone, because they may have actually gone through abandonment trauma or rejection trauma or feeling low self-worth as a child or in their early years. And they feel obviously how painful and know how painful it is to walk away or abandon someone. So this is why they have a lot of inner resistance to giving up on people, essentially. But this is kind of a wake-up call to make you realize that you are not giving up on someone. You're actually giving up on yourself when you commit to someone who basically drains the life out of you. Because this can even manifest into physical illness. This can manifest into mental illness. This can manifest into spiritual illnesses and really block you from truly activating your full potential. So unlike my other video where I said how witches obviously lose their power when they fall in love with the wrong man, this is not just to do with romantic relationships. This is to do with all sorts of relationships. Obviously, romantic ones are going to be the most damaging, the most intense, but this can also do with, family members, because this can do with fake friends. So one of the most important initiations that will really drastically transform a kind of wounded, drained, broken empath into a sovereign one, into one that knows how to control their gift and channel it for the greatest good for themselves and to be of service to others, is when they truly awaken and integrate their shadow. But this is essentially the main thing that will either make or break you. This is essentially the main dark shadow initiation, true spirituality, that will heighten your consciousness, but that will also shift you to a timeline and your true destined path of being who you need to be, being authentically powerful, no longer performing and no longer fawning. Because if you continue to fawn, which means begging for crumbs, begging and chasing people, trying to prove your worth, trying to believing that you have to suffer to earn any sort of love, chasing narcissists, avoidant types, anything like that, or just like being resistant to activating your throat, your truth, your voice, this will forever block you. This will forever subdue and oppress your gifts and your true abilities to manifest, but to also help people. Because when it comes to priestesses, it is not what people actually think it is. It's not just some old pretty, feminine aesthetic, but the main part of it is being truly authentic in your fields, in your energy and in your truth. Because you cannot be an oracle of truth if you are people pleasing. Because if you are people pleasing, you are essentially suppressing yourself. You're going to be too fearful to stand up and be assertive and to speak truth. And this can even be of clients, this can be of family, this can be of lovers, this can be of literally everyone. This is why it's vitally important that you do not fear darkness, because you cannot be a spiritual healer or priestess or shaman or whatever you want to label yourself as if you fear the dark. Because acknowledging the true dark catalysts of what disrupts and distorts and taints people, what basically makes them broken and out of alignment, is the key to healing. Like, you won't heal if you're just, saying mantras and just doing all the light, love and light stuff. Like, that is so surface level. That is not scratching the real depth, the real deep inner waters, the depth of your soul, the depths of your consciousness, your subconscious, that needs to be addressed. Those are the keys. And this is what even dark goddesses like Hecate, the Morrigan, Lilith, this is what they truly bring out in you. This is what they truly reveal to you. This is why priestesses can't have fear, because if you have fear of speaking truth, you won't be able to do this line of work. Even looking at history, like I said in other videos, this is why, witches, priestesses, oracle women, they were the main targets of murder. They were literally the main ones that were taken out because they were the biggest threats. Even though, yes, we can have very powerful, masculine spiritual leaders, it's the true destiny of women to be in their divine feminine, to truly lead spiritually and to guide and help people, because they do have that inner knowing, that inner wisdom, because of our wombs, because of our portals within our sacral chakra. We do have that direct line to spirit, to source energy, creation itself. But if you're people pleasing and also having very bad spiritual hygiene, which means allowing people to have access to your energy, you will never have enough energy to truly come into yourself. Because, one person can literally ruin your life. If you give access and your love and your attention and your, healing to the wrong person, which a lot of empaths want to do, they can completely destroy your life. It is extremely important that you do accept when you're on the spiritual path that there are extremely demonic people. Like I've said in other videos, they are massively shut down. They don't have a connection to source. They're literally operating from a demonic hive mind consciousness because they don't have an open heart center. They may pretend they do, like we see all the time with fake gurus and whatever, but behind the scenes, they are extremely parasitic, extremely vampiric, and still abusive. So this is why your intuition must be your key power. Because if your nervous system is shut down, which will happen when you're fawning, when you're stuck in stress, when you're in fight or flight, which manifests when you're in a toxic relationship, you will get confused. You won't have that inner wisdom, that inner guidance anymore. And this is when you start to get cognitive dissonance. And then this is when basically you get a hex over your mind and lured to the wrong people and trapped within it. This is why shadow work, like I always bang on about, is so important, because that is the main key to truly freeing yourself and being so powerful and strong, and being like basically seeing truth. Because loads of empaths wear a blindfold of projection. So a lot of them will project their light and only see the good in people for way too much, because they truly can't understand or are not capable of doing those same things that these other people will do to you. So this is why usually it takes a severe betrayal, a severe, like, you know, nail in the coffin moment, which is a tower moment, you know, that Persephone journey, to truly activate an empath to wake the fuck up. But it is a very brutal process. But this process will take you to crossroads. So again, with that Hecate energy, this is why she's massively in so many women's fields at the minute. This is the moment where you choose, are you going to continue sacrificing yourself for other people that use, abuse, and drain the life out of you? Or are you actually going to have the courage to sacrifice the wounded version of yourself that allows it in the first place, that allows themselves to get sucked dry from parasitic people? And I know obviously when trauma bonds are involved, it can be far more difficult, but deep down, empaths always know when someone has red flags. That's where they differ from normal people who just get manipulated. The biggest difference that I've noticed with empaths is they see people's red flags, but they choose to ignore it. Or they truly believe, oh, if I love this person more, if I do more, if I show them that they're worthy, you know, you're showing all that love, all that healing, all that light, then maybe they'll wake up, maybe they'll transform and be able to be, you know, a healthy person. But this will not be the case. You do not stay with someone out of potential. Don't stay with someone because you think, oh, I can fix them. No, there is a huge difference between tolerating difficulties during relationships, which can be like financial issues, one of you guys getting sick, you know, losses, deaths within the family, whatever the case, you know, world problems, and tolerating someone who is actually abusing you. It's like lying to you, cheating on you, mentally, physically, or sexually abusing you. That is when you go. You do not tolerate any of that type of energy. And pay attention to your dreams, because so many times women who do have that priestess energy, that gift of sight, they will dream things before they happen. And a lot of the time they are warnings. So if they are quite vivid, intense, and very consistent, especially if you already have a slight kind of off feeling about your partner, for example, if they're cheating on you and you dream of it all the fucking time, that is your intuition trying to warn you about something. They could be a secret porn addict. There's something in their fields that may be overly lustful or unfaithful or deceiving. So although it may, you know, not always be literal, it's an energy that you're picking up on. So this is why you have to trust yourself, because a lot of priestesses and, you know, witches, oracles, they struggle with truly activating and allowing their gifts and intuition to flow, because they don't trust themselves the first time, or they don't act on their intuition when they're trying to warn you or show you something. And trust me, this was the biggest mistake I made in my past. But, you know, as someone who was trapped with a severely abusive, covert narcissistic man who pretended to be obviously, you know, spiritual twin flame relationship, it's so important that you take action on your intuition. For years, I knew something was wrong with this guy. For years, I could feel it, and I would question him, and I tried to help him heal. I tried to open his heart and do all the things, but ultimately, I was the one who got severely sick and broken in the process. And ultimately, it did end in betrayal. It was cheating. There was lying, severe betrayal. And then once I finally left this person then went on to abuse the future women that he got with, two of which who actually, you know, came to me asking for advice and help and actually apologizing, saying, oh, you were right all along. Because these types of people, they will demonize you no matter how loving you are, no matter how much healing you give them, no matter how much truth you speak. They don't give a shit. They literally are so committed to being full-on agents of like fucking demonic energy to take down people, especially witches and priestesses. They are like on a mission to destroy and unalive you. And I don't say this lightly, because this is the darkest secret of spiritual warfare that doesn't get spoken about enough within New Age spiritual spaces. This is why dark feminine energy is now waking up more than ever before, because women are now seeing how fucking destructive it is when you give all your love and attention, all your energy to someone like this. And it's important to know that a lot of these men are covertly narcissistic. They're covertly abusive. So they won't outwardly appear, oh, very abusive and this type of thing. And this is the trap. But this is one of the most powerful initiations of like a kind of soft, naive, too innocent, too open empath, truly going through this dark initiation of learning hard truths, hard lessons, choosing themselves, because that's when you pass the initiation, and then you become whole. Then you become integrated, because you still have that love, you still have that heart. But when you integrate it with sacred fire, sacred anger, your rage, your justified rage, which is holy, you know, look at angels, they have holy wrath when they need to. Look at dark goddesses, they take action when they need to, like I've explained in other videos. When you truly integrate that aspect of yourself, that's when you become completely sovereign, because you no longer care about how people view you, because you know how valuable your energy is. Because another thing that too many women make especially is they settle out of loneliness because they haven't found union within themselves. You will feel far more lonely if you don't have that inner connection to yourself, because you don't see how sacred your energy is, how precious it is, and you try to seek it constantly externally. So this doesn't mean you have to be single for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that, or turn, you know, extremely avoidant, but it does mean that you don't settle for just, anyone or breadcrumb of affection, because that will keep you in the loop of self-sacrifice, self-abandonment, self-neglect, and that will destroy your life long term. You will never manifest who you want to be when you're in that energy. And it will massively block your throat chakra and your sacral chakra. Those are the three chakra points that are like very connected, is your throat, heart, and sacral. So for women especially, it is so important that you have your sacral chakra activated, your heart chakra activated, but your throat chakra activated too. So then you can create from your womb, you can live from your heart, from a space of love, but then you can speak authentically your truth without fear. That actually does bring me on to showing my very beautiful new necklace from OTTER Spirit. So quick shout out to them. They now have launched really beautiful crystal necklaces. So this is actually hawk's eye. So it may be obviously a bit tricky to see, but I absolutely love these ones. But they do have like many that you can choose from. So I do have a code that I will link here if you do want to get, you know, a sale on, as always, with all of their ranges. But hawk's eye in particular, I absolutely love, because it is actually blue tiger's eye. So it is actually tiger's eye, but it has like a blue sort of tint. It's more rare. And it is actually really good for your throat chakra. So it gives you that courage like tiger's eye does. It helps influence your energy to be less anxious, less sort of fearful. It influences and activates your intuition, but in connection to your throat. So with OTTER Spirit, they also do donate of every purchase some money to See Otter charity as well. So that's why they're my favorite. But yeah, I highly recommend. Really beautiful, very good quality as well, because remember, a lot of crystals are not always authentic. So yeah, once again, link will be down in the bio if you want to look at their new necklaces. And if you are wanting to learn more about especially cleansing your womb space chakra, your sacral chakra, then once again, I do have my Dark Feminine ebook, where I do have a ritual included in that will tell you how to cleanse that, how to remove any sort of like excess energy, and all that type of thing, as along with a cord cutting ritual. So basically learning banishment rituals, banishment magic to get that out of your system so you can be more in your aligned destined path. So you remove those hooks off of your auric field, so you no longer tolerate basically being exploited energetically, physically, and of course mentally. This is what will literally take you from being a kind of just flat, mundane, suppressed woman or priestess to someone that is living in a completely different timeline. Like when I look back at my past self, I have completely transformed, and it was literally going through this very, very brutal death and rebirth initiation of allowing that good girl fawning version of myself to completely die, and then allow my true authentic energy that is integrated with darkness, with that shadow, but also my golden shadow. Because when I say darkness, I don't mean you being abusive, you hurting people, or whatever the case. It's about allowing yourself to know that it's not shameful to be strong and assertive when you have to be, to not shame your anger. Because remember, anger, suppression of it, is responsible for like over 80% of women having autoimmune disease. Like I've said in other videos, this will kill you. Like this is not just about your spiritual journey, it's also about your physical health. Like these people will literally take years off your life, and not just wasting your time, but literally off your health. So this is why sometimes you can be exercising, eating very clean, you know, doing loads of protection magic, spells, rituals. But if you are with a toxic person, it won't do shit. So it's like you'll still suffer. You'll still be depleted and drained. Or if you just live from a space of like fear, so everyone you interact with, you're also like cautious and scared, you're kind of fawning. You haven't alchemized that fear into that sacred fire, that rage. You will also be in that kind of vulnerable energy. This is the same with entities, by the way. If you don't have boundaries with humans, you won't have boundaries of entities. So spirits will know you're weak. Spirits will know, I can easily infiltrate that person. I can easily influence them. I can easily siphon their energy. So this is why, even if you're doing any form of occultism or any sort of spiritual work, or just, you know, basically open to it, you can't lack boundaries. Because remember, as within, so without. Your frequency within the 3D realm is seen within other realms. It's seen within higher realms, and it's seen within lower realms. So they will know that you're an easier target. So basically they will know that you're more vulnerable, that you're easier to exploit, you're easier to take down. So this is why tackling fear in conjunction with spiritual hygiene, in conjunction with not allowing your empathy to override yourself to the point of suicide, is so, so, so important. Because a priestess cannot self-sacrifice. So I hope this video made sense, my loves. If you do want to activate your dark feminine energy, because that truly is the key to learning all of this type of thing, then I highly recommend my guidebook, which does include 3 powerful rituals to activate and to cleanse yourself of anything that could be holding you back. If you want one-to-one help, then book an oracle card reading with myself. The link is down below, where I can give you one-to-one guidance. If you want a cord cutting done that I can do on your behalf to separate yourself from a narcissist or any sort of energy vampiric person that you feel trauma bonded to, then I can also do that. The link is down below. So until next time, my loves, I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be uploaded of my future videos. So I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Stay fierce, stay powerful. Ahimsa.